Hey, everybody. It's Wednesday, and Wednesday is a day that we celebrate the many facets of the Norse god Woden, or Odin, or big guy with one eye who has some crows on his shoulder. Those crows, as you know, are named Svaftin and Horsten. Actually, I made that up. I have no idea what their names are, but I think it's important that we talk about Odin and we celebrate Odin on Wednesday. Other names for this day are the middle of the week, or the mountain that we must climb to get to the other side. Those are all popular names of this week. Speaking of mountains that we need to climb, I wanted to take a moment to at least acknowledge the fact that a couple of Savannah theater greats have left our presence today. They are headed out to California, and they are dear friends of mine. I'm going to miss them deeply. But Shannon and Mike Zoller have left the area of Savannah, are headed out to California, and we will be thinking about them quite a lot. They are Savannah theater performers, the Savannah Theater, the historic Savannah Theater, and they have been there for a long time. They will be greatly missed while they are away, but hopefully we will see them again soon. Fingers crossed. But I just wanted to say that. I wanted to put that out there. Best wishes to them and all of their family. They have a lovely family. But today, on today's show, we do not have them because they're flying right now. But we have someone who is deeply treasured in Savannah, someone who is enamored by many and enthroned in spirituality. I don't know if he is or not, but we're going to bring him out anyway. And we're going to talk and we're going to have a conversation. It's going to be lovely. It's just going to be endearing to all. I'm using a lot of exposition, and I don't know why. Maybe Wednesday is also known as Exposition Day. Let's hope so. But here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Elliot Szabo.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going good. I see that you were reading a book.
Yeah, I was just going through Plato on a Wednesday like I normally do.
As one does.
Yeah, that's you know what, I was actually surprised. I pulled it out for comedic effect, and as I'm because who reads Plato anymore other than people in college that are forced to. I actually wrote stuff in this book. Like I at some point had to study this and don't remember any of it. And as I'm reading it, I was like, oh, that's a really good point that I made to myself however many years ago it was that I bought this.
Yeah. So were you
annotated it.
A student of philosophy at some point, or?
I think in my 20s I wanted to believe that I was a student of philosophy and never had the patience to actually get through any of the denser material to make myself. But I know somewhere around here I had what's his name? The guy with the gray hair that everybody talks about. I know.
Aristotle?
No. He's
Socrates.
Noam Chomsky, which I think he's more
Chomsky. Yes.
A political kind of philosopher or something or other. See, obviously, I didn't read the books, so I have no idea to really be able to tell you. But I know that I bought the books, and I think I just put it in a pile, but No Logo by Klein, which was this whole anti-corporation thing that she wrote, which I read about half of it. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, this is dense. I can't do this. I think that I wanted to, and I just didn't have the mental fortitude to actually sit down patiently.
Well, I would say that now would be a perfect time to pull out the Noel Chomsky, the Plato, Socrates,
You would think that, but we both have
Descartes,
children.
Rene Descartes. Yes.
Well, we both
It's
have
true.
children at home.
Yes.
And I think our role, well, my role at least, has changed a little bit to being, full-time daycare type thing
Yeah.
with him. And I'm doing a fantastic parenting job by putting him on a computer playing a video game right now.
Hey, perfect.
Yeah, great. So it's a little tough to get through Descartes when you have a 5-year-old constantly coming up to you asking you to download new Golf with Friends levels on the computer, or showing you the Legos. So it's not the best time for that.
Yeah. So how old is your son, if you don't mind me asking?
He's 5.
5.
Yep. He turns. He was born on October 4th, 10/4. That's how I remember it. 10/4, little buddy. And he turned 5, and he'll be going into kindergarten next year. So we've been doing a lot of fun kindergarten stuff, a lot of writing, a lot of science, talking about the scientific method and experimenting with things around the house. So that's been fun. And we only do about 2 hours of schoolwork a day, and then we do other stuff. But that's a big change.
I feel like 5 years old. That's low pressure for schooling.
Yeah. Although there's a lot of people out there that they want to tell you, oh, well, this is how you should be doing this and this and this, and pay us money, and we'll tell you all the right ways to do things. And I'm just like, well, I think if I do like 20 minutes of writing and maybe 20 minutes of math, and then look up some, science experiments like the exploding volcano, I think we'll be good. So that's kind of what we've been doing.
So have you done the exploding volcano?
Yeah. We did the baking powder and vinegar volcano. Today we were talking about density. So we went and found a bunch of things around the house that were all roughly the same size, and filled up a sink, and I let him drop them in the water after he hypothesized whether or not they would sink or float. And then we tried to get the density out to see if he could grasp that. I don't think he quite got it, but he did get the whole, we're gonna ask a question, and then we're gonna hypothesize an answer, and then we're going to experiment to see what happens, and then we're going to say what that experiment got us and whether or not our hypothesis was correct.
Well, I'm impressed by that. That's pretty good. That's
he gets that. He didn't get density. He didn't get he doesn't quite understand mathematical variables yet either, but he does know that it can be any number. Kind of like how he understands, which is interesting, I think, because there's like different levels of where children's brains are able to handle certain ideas, right?
Right.
So like at some age, if you give a kid, if you pour a glass of water from a short fat glass into a long skinny glass, right? And you ask them which one will hold more water, the kid will at a certain age will say the taller one, right? Even if you show them that the same amount of water fits from one into the other. And eventually they're able to say, the brain grows and the part of the brain develops. It's able to say, oh, well, they're equal, right? Even though they're different shapes, they're the same volume. So yeah, he understands that there's a thing called infinity. He gets that, but he doesn't understand that there can't be a biggest number in the world either, right? He's like, what's the biggest number Dad? And I'm like, a Google is the highest named number, I think, right? I don't know if that's still correct, but at one point
I think there's a something Google or Googleplex, I think is beyond Google.
So I think I'm not sure if that's true though, because I think Googleplex is the name of the campus where Google, the company, is housed.
Oh.
It's not necessarily the name of a number.
We'll have to.
I looked it up the other day, but so he understands that there's a thing called infinity, but he doesn't understand that there can't be a highest number. There's always infinity plus one.
Right.
So that's it's been interesting kind of seeing that. I mean, I don't have any educational background as far as teaching kids how to do stuff, so I've just been kind of going, well, I know this and I think that we can do this, and let's see where it gets us.
Yeah. So I did just look up Google in Google, and I got Google, of course. Yeah. Because you said you'd looked it up, so I had to verify that information.
They're two different spellings.
Is there?
Yeah, Google, Google, and Google, Googol, is the number.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yep.
That I did not know.
There you go. There you go. We're teaching, every day. We're just going to teach things every day.
It's great. It's great. It's wonderful.
If you learn one thing every day, that's where you do it. So
yeah.
I think that they did name the company Google because they had heard of the number, but they wanted to make it stand out from the number somehow.
I love that you pass that off as that just, well, they heard of the number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it wasn't a known thing. It was like something passed in casual conversation. Like, hey, you heard of this number? Google?
Well, I think because it had only been named for, I think, a short time, there was a reason that somebody had to name the number. There was a 1 followed by 100 zeros, and a guy named it. And then that was, I think, only relatively recently that Google became a word.
Okay, the term was coined, just so we're straight now.
Okay, all right.
And I make you look foolish because that's what I'm here for. The term was coined in 1920 by 9-year-old Milton Sirota, nephew of U.S. mathematician Edward Kasner. Okay. So Kasner popularized the concept in a 1940 book, but it was coined by his son, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I thought I knew it was a kid that named it, but I didn't realize it was 1920. I thought it was in the 80s, but that shows what I know.
Yeah. So, well,
there you go.
You live, you learn. And we can all count on Wikipedia for all of our information. I know.
Because it's always correct.
Exactly. Always correct.
Always correct. I tried editing Wikipedia for a short while back in the early 2000s. I kind of was like, oh, well, I could, do this. Maybe this would be a fun hobby. It's atrocious. I couldn't do it. The community, bless everybody that does it. I'm sure there are people, within our community that do it. It was, again, one of those things. I just didn't have the patience to actually sit around and do it and do the research. I think I contributed one thing, which was like a picture of something a long, long time ago. And I'm sure it's since been removed, but.
Well, little known fact about my family. My brother was a member of Wikipedia for, I want to say about 6 or 7 years. He was like a community organizer. He wasn't an editor, but just having him be there, I had like a little inward knowledge of how it worked. Although I think it works very differently now than it worked then. It's much more edited and much more fact checked than it was then.
Okay.
But yeah, it's. I don't want to get on a subject of Wikipedia though.
No. That's fine. Let's railroad on to something different.
Let's do that.
What do you got?
So I was thinking of the first time you and I met was at an audition for Savannah Stage.
I remember that.
Yes, and you had a delightful performance of the Shake speech.
The funny thing about that, I don't actually remember anybody else being in the room other than McKenna and Lexi and Jamie, and that's all I remember. I remember having to do the movement. I remember first being really weirded out that there were 3 other guys there. Is that right? There were 4.
No, it was just 2 of us.
Okay, so it's you and Tim and myself.
Right.
And so I was like, that's crazy that there's 2 other dudes. Who would have thought that?
Yeah.
And that was, I think, only the second live audition that I'd ever done.
Yeah.
So then being in a room and they're like, okay, and we're going to do these movement exercises. And I was like, oh man, I am not a movement guy. I don't like dancing in front of people. I dance with my kid, and that's under duress usually.
Right.
That's on being like 6'4" and gangly as a teenager.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I had prepared the speech because they were like, prepare a speech, and I was like, man, I got to do something. I know this, so I guess I'll do it. And I remember reading, don't do something that somebody else has made really famous, and I was like, well, too late now. And so I did it.
It worked for me. I was enthralled with but here's the thing. Admittedly, I hadn't seen the movie.
Oh.
So for me, it was very fresh eyes to that speech. Of course, I went out and saw the movie right after that. It was still playing at theaters. No, I rented the movie, and yeah, it was. I would say, oh, you know how I was familiar with it? Of course, was Saturday Night Live. No.
Oh, no, nope. Sorry, that was a no to somebody in the other room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. He wants me to download a new Golf with Friends because for whatever reason. So anyway, sorry. So you were I'm not familiar with the Saturday Night Live bit.
Really? So yeah, it's from that year when that was up for an Oscar, and it's basically, oh gosh, and I can't remember the guy's name, and I can't remember what
Daniel
show he's on
Day-Lewis?
HBO.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Not the actor in the movie, but the comedian, the comic actor from SNL, who has his own show on HBO. It's coming up for another season. Gosh, I can't remember it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He had a show where he was traveling the country drinking other people's milkshakes, and it was like a Food Network show. So, yeah, that sort of idea. So
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah. So that was my first encounter with you. So I knew you were an actor.
Yes. Yeah. So the funny thing about that is I had not acted in anything. I've only been acting, I'd say, for about a year and a half now. Before that, I've been a performer as a musician for a long time, and I'd actually taken a break off of that to do event production. I was an audio engineer and still am for a long time, and then I had my own event production company in Las Vegas, and then it kind of traveled around with me. So I'd gone away from performing, and when I moved to Savannah, there was the opportunity to get back into performing musically, and I had started making these little videos because I'd been out on the road with a couple of YouTube stars as where they were touring, and I'm like, oh, I remember YouTube. You make videos, so I was like, well, let me make a couple of videos, and so I made a video and I made a scripted movie about a piece of audio equipment that comes back to life and haunts me and is trying to kill me, and which is the dumbest thing ever. It's 14 and a half minutes of me chasing around or being terrorized by a gray box. But it was interesting to do it. And I said, well, I would like to see how movies get made, but I don't want to push boxes around anymore because I already do that for a living, is, push boxes on and off trucks and set them up and tear them down. So how can I be lazy and go about seeing how movies are made? I know, I'll be an extra. There's a lot of movies that get made around here, as as we all know. And I said, okay, I'll go be an extra. So I set up a backstage, and I'm like, well, how do I be an extra? So I set up a backstage account, and I got on with there's a local director, SCAD student, Davi Pena, and he had done a movie called The Fray, and I got on as guard number 5 on The Fray. And I remember seeing William or Mark McCullough was the lead bad guy in that.
Oh yeah, I know William Mark.
William Mark. It's tough when you read his name on the Facebook stuff, but yeah. So Mark was on that. Davi was on that. It was this massive set. They did a beautiful job on it. I got to dress up as a guard. I got to drag the dead guy out of the ring, filled with blood and everything. And it was just a really interesting experience. And then I auditioned for another SCAD movie called The Human Condition that Jon Stewart, not the gray-haired Jon Stewart, political activist now, but his name is Jon Stewart. He was doing his directorial thesis at the time, and I got on, somehow landed the part as the British doctor in a movie about robots that get human feelings. And as I was preparing for that, I went and auditioned for Savannah where you and I met.
Savannah Stage,
And
yes.
so, yeah, Savannah Stage. And so that was only my second time auditioning live for that. And then it just kind of snowballed into, well, I need to get stage experience being on stage without a microphone and guitar in my hand. So I started working with Oddlot, going to their classes, doing the improv thing, which was funny because I came home the first time I did it, and I was like, my wife asked me, she goes, "Well, what'd you think of it?" And I go, "Oh, it was a great time. I absolutely loved it, but I don't think I'm going to be in anybody's improv troupe anytime soon." And and then like I remember like three or four rehearsals later, classes later, and Chris was like, "So, are you auditioning, or what are you doing?" And I was like, "Do you want me to audition?" And it was this whole like weird thing. So yeah. And since then, I think my most recent project was 6 weeks out at Hilton Head as part of Rumors.
Yeah.
At the Art Center for Coastal Carolina, which was a great experience. But this acting thing has been, like I said, a really new venture for me. I obviously have performance experience, but it's been a relatively new venture, but I've been having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy how you realize what you can do when you're put into those situations.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't think that I was, I'm sure that the movement stuff, I just looked like a petrified, whatever.
No, but you play that. I mean, that's your sweet spot, honestly.
Right.
And I myself am a similar feel as far as moving. So that becomes your go-to as, okay, I'm the awkward mover. That's who I am. So that's who I'm auditioning for, always with the awkward movement. Now somebody can train you, of course, to move less awkwardly, or as you and I are both gifted as being tall, they'll put you in the back because it's a nice staggered effect. And so they see less of your movement.
And I remember when I was doing Violet, I felt bad because they had this wonderful girl doing the choreography, and I felt so bad because I was so prickly taking the choreography direction from her, because she's like, "Well, can you do this and can you do that?" And I just knew that I was being prickly about it, and I just couldn't help myself with it. I don't know why, but it is what it is. My son wanted to take dance classes. I thought, well, maybe I should go take some with him, and that way I'll maybe be a little bit less self-conscious about it. I think that's really what it comes down to, is being self-conscious, because you're the tall guy,
right?
That anything that you do stands out like a sore thumb because you're a foot taller than everybody else, so that's that might be where that comes from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think there's definitely a feeling of I should hide because I mean, from my perspective, at least, when I was young, I always wanted to hide away from everybody else, and just because I always stood out. So, but now it's like I'm on the opposite end of that. I just want to be in their face. Yeah. Chris Susi, who's also a tall man, he says he's a natural.
Yeah. Not a natural dancer, though.
No.
Heavens no. No.
And Savannah Stage wanted to put their I'm not really sure why there's a cactus in there. Cactus love? Does that make sense to you?
I think because I was so prickly.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the nicest word I can use to describe myself. In that situation. So I appreciate the cactus love.
Yeah, I get that too. Yeah. So you mentioned the choreographer. She actually is the schoolmate of my son and has been since pre-K. So they've grown up together.
Io, right?
Yes, Io. And Io is very talented. And I think her mother was watching a little while ago. I don't think she caught your comment, but yeah, it's she's very talented, and I'm sure she was fine with her prickliness.
Yeah.
She got over it.
I'm sure. You have to have a somewhat of a thick skin to do this. I know that I have an especially thick skin when it comes to production type stuff because I've been doing the production stuff for quite a while. I think it's just being on the opposite side. It's being on the stage versus being off the stage. So I know that I've been yelled at numerous times. I've been flipped off. I've been screamed at. I remember the first audio gig that I ever did was for a reggae band. And it was this terrible, terrible gig in a place called Town Square in Las Vegas. The reggae band was great, but the gig was it was hot, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And there was a hype man, and the hype man would spend like 5 minutes on stage, and he would come off stage to where I was mixing the audio and scream at me about how it sounded so terrible and how the lead singer couldn't hear himself in the monitors, which it didn't matter to him that he was standing both in front of the monitors and behind the speakers. Hang on a second. I'm being yelled at.
Okay.
Okay.
Is it the golf thing again?
Concept. Yeah, he'll play this game for hours, but there's usually some form of participation. It's been great with him being here because we've spent a lot of time together. But at the same time, the kids need a lot of attention.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 years old. Gosh, yeah.
But yeah,
I'm amazed he's not in the shot right now.
Yeah. So so I got screamed at for the entirety of the show, and these guys showed up 2 hours late, insanely baked, all of them, just insanely baked, and so that I got flipped off once when I was doing a gig at the Joint because we lost a monitor rack, and so the lead singer and the bass player thought that I was intentionally turning their monitors on and off on them. Because when the monitor rack overheated, it would flip off, and then when it would cool down, it would turn itself back on. And so to them, it just sounded like the audio guy was turning their monitors on and off. So yeah, in front of 4,000 people, I got flipped off by the band.
Nice.
Yeah, so you kind of get that thick skin, I think, a little bit. But once you get on the stage, then you're like, oh well, you just gotta redevelop it, I think.
We'll take a drink.
Yeah. Yes,
refreshing.
Perfect.
What did Chris
have
say
to
here?
Be conscious of their movements. The audience will cower from a tall actor charging at them.
That is very true.
Yeah. There you go.
I sometimes don't realize, especially because I do a lot of children's theater productions, my own imposingness to some of the actors. Although the kids there are that they know me now, they know what to expect. But I think the first time I did a show there, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's actually my first experience on stage. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where to stand, where to hide. But yeah, it is interesting to have your perspective where you're dealing with folks that have to have it right every time, and if it's wrong, it's your fault.
Yeah.
On the other side, it's like I think there's a certain level of forgiveness when you're doing live theater because you expect to make mistakes. Even though in your own mind you want to be perfect the whole time, you have to let that go to a certain extent and know that you're going to make mistakes. And improv is perfect for that.
Yeah. And I think it took a little bit for me to wrap my head around that because, especially in corporate events, which is where I spent a good portion of my time as well, you have one shot, if you're doing a product release for a company at a big event like CES, they're spending $100,000 to be on TV to reveal their product, and that happens one time. And when it messes up for whatever reason, they come after you. And I've been come after before and had to defend myself. Once I remember we had done a 10 by 20 vinyl wrap for a stage, and the font was wrong, and I was getting yelled at for it, and told that I had to replace a $10,000 vinyl wrap, and there was no way to replace it, and I had to like go back and be like, no, 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 you sent me these files. I printed up everything that you sent me, and it was you know. But when you're spending that kind of money, it has to be right. So yeah, learning like, and I think doing rumors was really helpful for that because night after night, when you're doing it 6 nights a week, and learning from all these other great actors that were there, and the Brad, the director was, you know, and Richard, the vice president, and Whit, the assistant VP. They're all, you know, fantastic, but you're doing it over and over and over and over again, and you start to see where you can work on it. And I just remember like some of the actors, they would all have like their little projects. You know, John Aline wanted to get like he had this one particular thing that he wanted to get a laugh on, and so each night it was his opportunity to work that one line
Yeah.
and just do it a little bit different, and then land that laugh. And eventually it worked. And like Chris Mullen, he had, you know, his little things that he would kind of work on, and so that was interesting to see. And it was there was a great opportunity to be with those guys and learn from all of them and see how they worked, and what they focused on, and where they spent their time and their effort, and how they, you know, got ready and performed. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Not to put a dark note on that, but I believe that one of the actors actually was lost after that show.
yeah, Jay Todd, I believe, committed suicide, which is really unfortunate. So
Wow.
because Jay Todd and I were both we were kind of the morning people,
Hmm.
where we would wake up, and you know, he'd be out smoking and having a coffee, and I'd take some of the coffee, and so we were kind of the early risers of the house. And so yeah, it was. I think it's especially difficult to hear about when people who you admire do that, and especially if you've had any type of issue with depression or anything like that, because you start to go, well, boy, you know, this person, they just, you know, just couldn't. It just, it's tough to talk about, but yeah, it's sad. That
Yeah.
one really hurt
Yeah.
to hear about, and it was especially hard. So I haven't I don't think I really said anything about it because it was tough for me to kind of to deal with. But yeah, he was a great guy, a lot of talent, a very funny guy, and yeah.
Yeah. I would say that anytime you have to put yourself into a performance mode where you're leaving yourself exposed to that part of yourself, that especially makes um yeah, I don't know that I want to go there right now, but it's true that you do see the darker side of yourself a lot more when you open up your emotions like that. And I don't know if that's the cause, and I'm not saying that would be, but certainly there is a lot of depression in this industry, and especially now. So maybe
Yeah.
saying that, and maybe saying that, yeah,
I will say that, like, I think that that's the biggest thing, especially, you know, for people who are performers right now. You know, you, myself, all of our, you know, kind of core group, we're in this point now where we're trying to be productive, we're trying to be entertaining, but we've kind of lost the thing that maybe defines a part of who we are, which
yeah,
is, you know, being able to perform live in front of people. And that is a really difficult thing. And so it's important, I think, to keep working every single day to, and I know that I have to do it, is to find some way to be productive, to find some way to expel that creative energy that you know that you have, and to not to work and not get so caught up on maybe not having that immediate feedback, that immediate like gratification loop that you get when you're on stage in front of people. And especially, you know, for myself as a freelancer, for everybody else that's a freelancer, I know that I would get agitated when I didn't have work 3 or 4 months out. And now, you know, we don't have work for who knows how long. So
right,
you kind of just end up having to like accept that that's a reality, and to go through with those, you know, those creative outlets in different ways. I know I'm doing a lot of watercolor lately. Not really a visual artist, but that's been a really interesting journey. Is the painting? I'm doing a lot of photography lately, and I, you know, so those have all been kind of ways to get around that, because I don't think I naturally enjoy like live streaming and things like that. I just don't. And not to say that this is an unenjoyable experience. I love, talking to
That's it.
people,
You're gone.
but
You're out of here. I'm
oh,
sorry.
I know, right? No, but like I did it once. I did the Instagram live thing once, and I turned the camera on and I played, and I'm just like, all right, well, that was a thing. Whereas before, like you go out, you're in front of the microphone or you're on the stage, and you see the people, you can react, you can
Right.
see like, hey, you know what? I remember I was doing a gig and I was about to play Brown Eyed Girl, and the guy was like, no, we like the '90s stuff, and I did a cover of Tool in a golf, in a golf place, and they were leaving me, a bunch of tips, and everybody loved it. So to have to like relearn how how to perform and how you sense an audience and everything like that, especially with the camera here,
Right.
it's really different. It's really different than, and so I just personally I haven't not like been super comfortable with it. I
Yeah.
don't know. And then of course, having a 5-year-old, being, having uninterrupted time where you can sit around and do that, or where you can be loud at 9 o'clock at night. You can't really do that because they're sleeping. So
Yeah. So this game, I've got to focus on this game since you brought up your 5-year-old. It's golf with friends.
Golf with your friends, yes. It's on Steam if you have Steam.
Steam. Okay. So guys, go out and get on golf with your friends. You could be playing with Elliot's son. I know that that's probably a bad idea.
Oh God, you think I let a kid play with strangers on the internet? I'll stick him in front of the computer. I'm not doing
Right.
that. He was making Lego videos. He has a little like Kindle, right? A little kid Kindle. And I came in and he was making videos of himself putting Legos together. And he was talking to the camera. And I'd showed him a video that I think I just recently done a couple of videos performing and putting those on YouTube. And he saw them. And he's like, how can I put videos on the internet? And I was like, wow, let me tell you that you're going to have to be a little bit older.
Right.
And then mom and dad are going to have to really monitor everything you do. His grandmother gave him a laptop recently. I had to go lock that whole thing down and get the reports, sent to me as to where he goes and make sure he can only go to certain sites. So yeah, I'm like, we're not sticking, Errol, especially with a kid that's like him that thinks that clothes are entirely optional. Like,
yeah.
Like, I come out at like 10 o'clock is usually when we kind of start. I'm like, all right, I gotta put clothes on. He's like, why? And I'm like, you know what? Don't make me have to answer that because I don't really have a good explanation for myself right now. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You got a song for us?
Oh, geez. Do I just have this here? What? That's crazy.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Elliot Szabo.
Oh, boy. I actually didn't even have anything planned out. So I will say this, one of the ways that you can help is some of us still do get the royalty checks. So if you go on to iTunes or any of the things, you can check out the 2 EPs that I have, which are Get Wasted and Between 2 Points on a Map. And this is one I've been playing for a long, long time. This is Crawling. I don't know when I went crazy. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. 36 rounds with loaded and burning at the floor. Finding a way that I can get myself out. I'm crawling out to you. I'm crawling 'cause it's true. I don't know when I went crazy. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. There's that I'm born in hell, finding a way that I can let myself out. I'm crawling out to you. I'm crawling 'cause it's true. I'm crawling out to you. I'm crawling 'cause it's true. I don't know when I went crazy. I'm crawling out to you. I'm crawling 'cause it's true. I'm crawling out to you. I'm crawling 'cause it's true. There you go, Chris.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I mentioned I'll include links to those EPs in the comments for everybody so they can check them out. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's so I've been doing that one for a long time. That's called crawling, but that was one of those like wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you have an idea in your head and you go out and you write it, and then the next day you wake back up and see what you wrote. And it was one of those rare ones that it happens like that, where it's just like literally out of a dream kind of state. Yeah.
Dream songs are the best.
Dream songs are, so sometimes they are the best.
Sometimes.
Then we recorded that out at a place in Las Vegas called Odds On Studio, which is funny because the guy that owned the studio knew that at the time I was selling copiers and he was trying to get into the high run print business. So he'd always just stop me. Like I'd come in, right, and I'd have like 4 hours booked that night. He was like, "Hey man, have you seen the new Xerox large format 1,000 sheet printer?" And I'm like,
that's crazy.
I don't want to talk about copiers right now. And you look at this, you think this is a good one? You think I should buy it? I was like, no, I think you should buy one from me. Look, here's my card, like this is a $100,000 machine. Like, you know how much studio time I could buy if you bought a $100,000 copier off of me? Like, it'd be crazy, dude. Like, he's like, oh, but I really think the Xeroxes are really good. And I'm like, no, I don't know.
What were you, a Ricoh man?
Bro? No, Kyocera Mita.
Oh yeah.
Hanukkah Minolta.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I think they're the same company now, aren't they?
You know what? I can as thankful as I can possibly be. I don't know.
That's good. I think I do, which is sad. Yeah. Anyway, Elliot, this has been great. I've really enjoyed this. It's been a nice light conversation for the most part. Some dark
for the most part
points, but that's okay. Folks, please go support our local artists by buying their EPs. Now, the 2 EPs you mentioned were
Between the 2 Points on a Map and Get Wasted, and and you don't even have to buy them. Honestly, you can stream them. I get paid either way. I probably get paid more on the streaming, but if you go and you find a song you like it, stick it in a playlist that you have, and I would do that honestly too for a lot of the other artists. I mean, make a Savannah playlist or make a local artist playlist, and every once in a while go through, because I'm always excited when I see a name pop up that I haven't seen in years, and it's the same thing as like getting those EPs from the bands that you would tour with. But you go through and you make a whole little playlist of things that you really enjoy, and you go, I remember that, and I remember being there with these people, and I think it's a little bit more close to heart. It's a fun experience to have that. So yeah, go through. I mean, there's a lot of, the thing that I'll say about Savannah is, for a town of its size, the amount of talent that's in this city is mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. I was
100% agree. 100% agree.
So pleasantly surprised when I moved down here and I started going to open mics and seeing people perform, and I'm like, wow, everybody's really good.
Yeah,
they weren't this good in Lafayette, Indiana, which is a town like maybe a little bit smaller than Savannah. Like, and that's not, I'm not trying to talk smack about Lafayette, Indiana. God bless Blind Melon, but yeah, really good.
Oh, screw Lafayette, Indiana. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
Whatever came out of there, other than like a bunch of astronauts.
Exactly. I mean, we didn't go to the moon anyway. What were they for? Just, I'm kidding, folks. Don't get on me about that. All right. I look forward to when we can share. Oh yeah, I look forward to when we can share a space again together and see some performances from each other. Either way, doesn't matter. But thank you for being on the show today, and have a pleasant day playing golf with your friends.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you later, man. Yes. Thank you, Elliot. Thank you, neighbors. Thank you, friends. Thank you, first responders. I don't say that often enough, or sometimes not at all. I'm sorry, but thank you, first responders. This is a time where you're desperately needed. And we will be back tomorrow with another show. It'll be just as good, if not the same. Goodbye.